Welcome to A-List Talks. I'm Adam Armbruster. With me is a good friend and an impressive speaker and guest. I can't wait for you to hear what Jeff has to say. Jeff Benninghoff, he is president, general manager of ABC7 in Florida, but he's got a storied career well before that. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Adam. Happy to
Jeff,
join you here.
oh, great to have you. What's a word that would describe how you would want people to know you if there was one word?
I would probably say I got more than one word, but empowering, especially when it comes time for work, friends, and so forth. Is I like to empower people to be their best. One of the things through my career that I've seen is a lot of people have a lot of people that help them, yet take credit for it. I don't want to take credit for anybody's work, especially I like to surround myself with people much smarter than me and empower them to do better. And when they do well and make me look good, I want to make sure they get the recognition that they deserve. The other piece of it is I never want to hold anybody back. Someone's got ambitions or is doing a great job. Though I don't ever want to lose some of my best folks, but wherever they want to go, I want to make sure that I get them there and make sure that they get credit and get recognized for that.
That is a really interesting take. And it's the first time I've even heard that in our podcast. That's fantastic. Jeff, where was home for you as a child? Where did the young Jeff grow up?
I grew up right outside Philadelphia, suburbs of Philadelphia, a place called Montgomery County. Hatboro, Pennsylvania is the actually town that I grew up in. So it's a small town, more blue collar type of town, and pretty humble beginnings from my parents, who were both. My father worked as on roads, and was ultimately became head of a township for the road department. And my mother raised us while she was young, and then worked in administrative work for AARP prior to the retirement.
So two working parents, and you're there with a couple siblings, I take it?
Yeah, I got three siblings. I got a twin brother, and I've got two sisters. Yeah.
Didn't know you were twins. See, I'm learning things all the time. Look at that.
Right.
All right. So blue collar, small town background. I got to tell you, that is something I hear a lot of with successful people. So that continues on. What's your earliest memory of being called, like, in a direction? If it was in television or if it's in business, or do you remember a moment ever when you go, you know what, that's what I want to be. I want to do that.
You know what? I wish I did. I wish I had that. I did not have that. More or less, I was so into sports in high school and college that, but never really good enough to pursue a professional career in anything. But enough that I know I love the sport. And I'm more of I'd rather be doing the sport than watching the sport. So as far as getting into whether it was in being a sports agent or sports medicine, that was never my drive. But I was so focused on sports, a little too much focus on sports versus my scholastics.
Is there an event that happened in your life that changed the course of your life? Something that happened and you go, everything just shifted. Anything
I would say my sophomore year in high school. And again, this is all tied to sports. I was always small in stature. I'm 5'7" and was always very skinny. So my freshman year in high school, I ran cross country, did very well on that. But I joined the wrestling team, and one of the reasons why I joined was because I was petite and tiny, and I didn't want to get bullied. So I got immediately thrown varsity in the varsity team. It was a 98-pound weight class. I actually weighed 85 pounds in my freshman year, and I had to gain 3 pounds in order to make the weight class. So everybody on the team was trying to lose weight where I was trying to gain weight, so they weren't happy with me. But I was thrown on varsity because there's no one else who could make the weight class. So that whole freshman year, I got pummeled. I got lost every match. Just got beaten up, destroyed. But I enjoyed it. It sounds odd, but I enjoyed it. But it just made me more determined, which to do better. And went to a couple of wrestling camps over the summertime, and it really dedicated myself to the craft. And in my sophomore year, I went from losing every match to winning the division championship for my weight class. You know, I bulked up to about 98 pounds at that point, but yeah, so and that's really kind of what really changed my thinking, and never realized I had drive before, and that really, you know, was a memorable moment, was that sophomore year.
So your sophomore wrestling varsity guys with multiple years more training experience, physical strength,
Yeah.
power, you're getting pummeled every match and you're enjoying it, and you're enjoying it. You're like, this is good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, the added benefit was I never got bullied in high school thereafter.
Oh, they said never try to fight a wrestler.
Right.
I know that for
Right.
sure.
Right.
Being a guy that's 6'5", you never want to get put on the ground because that's not our sweet spot. No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
What attracted you to the television industry? You clearly made a career out of it. You clearly, know the TV business upside down, left and right. But what attracted you to it?
Well, actually, I fell into it. When like I said, I focused too much on sports, not as much on my grades, and I had a difficult time. I graduated with an accounting degree. However, all the big accounting CPA jobs with the big firms went to the kids with the best grades. So I applied for a ad at the local newspaper, got hired as a staff accountant, and quickly was able to work my way up. And I knew the group had a TV station, and I always loved TV, growing up on TV, and it just looked like a lot of fun. So as soon as I got the opportunity, I applied for the job, did not get it. My predecessor got the job. He had to come back home, so he and I basically swapped jobs. So I got the opportunity to take his position. And from there on, it was great. It was not so intensive, transactional oriented. So even though I was brought down as a controller, I was able to get my hands dirty because the amount of work as a controller was not as intense as in a newspaper. And one of the first things we did was we were in the process of going from analog television to digital television, and no one was really embracing the challenge to build a TV station. So I'm like, wow, no one's doing it. So pretty much every opportunity I had to jump on something and get out of my space, I did, and no one was stopping me. So I just seized it and I built it. I would say I was pretty much the project lead on building the TV station down here. Next to, there was the general manager, obviously, but as far as the detail work, digging into the details, I grabbed the bull by the horns, and I would probably say that was the best thing I could have done in my career, because I learned the TV station within 9 months, the TV business within 9 months, not just from the accounting financial side, but from the technical build out, the equipment, and all the various different departments tied together.
And for those listening that don't know the TV industry, when digital came, it was almost a complete reboot of the entire industry. Is that safe to say, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the majority of the facilities, the smaller ones, which ours was, were not capable of handling the transition, because it pretty much required a whole brand new overhaul of internal equipment, number one, and then number two, transmitter and tower, some tower modifications based on the new transmitters.
What was we got in there? Okay, so it's digital now, and they're like, "Let's go, Jeff, make it digital. Snap your fingers. It's all just going to happen, like magic." What's the first thing you did in kind of grabbing that project? I mean, do you remember what was the first thing you did to start that off?
Well, we had a GC work, so working with the general contractor and doing a design bid for that. First thing I did was I'm like, well, volunteer to call and work with along with the general manager. We bring the general manager in at the time on the big stuff, but working nitty gritty with my numbers background and the budgeting part of it too. I had a reason to be very closely tied to the builder. So I would go out, solicit multiple bids, not just for that, but the other piece of it too was hiring an equipment integrator. So you can't really expect a chief engineer. Well, I can mine right now. Yes, he's qualified, but there's very few chief engineers that actually can build a TV stations from the inside out without the help needed to integrate it all. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of pieces of equipment that needs to talk to each other. So it's more than a one-person job. It's a huge job. So you hire these equipment integrated firms to come in and really help design, build from the ground up, and then execute.
You know, a lot of people have wireless headphones, and they have wireless everything, and TV stations have a lot of wire in them. How much wire is in a TV station, would you say?
I say it depends. Ours is relatively a small station. I'd probably say maybe a couple hundred to a couple thousand. I know that's a wide range depending on how far your transmitter at the facility. Ours is not. You know, the satellite dishes, which becoming more and more less relevant because of the IP technology.
So just miles and miles of wire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
You know, such a technological challenge. It's amazing. In your career, like, did you meet someone early on that helped you along the way? You know, those people that just pull you aside, go, "Hey, Jeff, you ever think about this or that?" Do you ever have somebody do that for you?
I've had multiple folks. I've had multiple bosses and mentors over the year that really helped define me. My first controller, he was amazing. CFOs, prior CFOs, and actually we were privately held until 2017. The ownership of the company, who I still talk to this day, have been great mentors, friends, and given me a lot of trust and a lot of leeway, and trusted me to make these decisions. Just when I talk about empowering, I was empowered again through my career, and I want to make sure that I reciprocate with a lot of the help I had along the way. Let's face it, we all have help somewhere along the way. So, you know, no one can, you know, very few people can say that I did it all alone by myself. And if they truly go back and looked at their past, there will be someone that helped them get where they are. So, they're way more than one that you know along the way, and I'm hoping that I'm doing the same and that I'm on that behavior.
Did you ever have someone give you a challenge along the way, though, or give you some harsh criticism that's kind of stung at the time and maybe was right or maybe wasn't right? Did that ever happen to you too along the way?
Oh, multiple times, and still happens to this day. Yeah, but in most cases, it comes from a good place, and in most cases, you know, from the outside, especially if it's someone who's not close to you. Well, I'll put it this way. I probably get calls from viewers, you know, multiple times a week, giving criticism. And here's how, and with the criticism that we get, it's, you know, that's who, it's coaching my folks to make sure that you don't understand. All you're hearing is the negative. So if you listen to every one of these calls, some of them can be cruel, and I handle them as far as with physical appearance, but that's the business we're in. But there's always a magic nugget. The fact that someone picks up a phone to call and complain about how bad the TV station is, or how bad someone is, or so-and-so did this, and you guys are morons, etc. 99% of the times, they're shocked when I call them back, or they're shocked if I get down to call them back. And I'm like, you don't understand. Me growing up, I would just switch the channel. We've got someone who actually cares enough to pick up the phone and call, not just call, but leave a 5, 6, 10-minute message or 2-page email, a scathing email. By the time you talk to them, you know, they're converts, and there's always a magic nugget in each one of those messages. So I get that all the time from viewers, and really the viewers, it's to me, it's not all the awards that we get. It's what the, you know, all the recognition and stuff from the inside the industry. It's what the viewers say, and are they watching? And if they're watching, that's our true sign of success, that we're doing a good job.
I got to think that these viewers that sent in this scathing email, the last thing they expected was the president, general manager to call them back.
Yeah, and a lot of times I try to, if it's talent related, and if it's not assaulting an appearance or really cruel, I'll have talent be on the call, and usually the talent will win them over way before I even start talking. But if it's something that's really sensitive, a sensitive topic, I prefer to take that myself. But yeah, it's amazing what Just one phone call does.
That's kind of like bookends with your phrase earlier about empowering. Like you're empowering these folks to turn a positive into a negative into a positive, and certainly into a fan by doing something that most people don't want to do, is call people back that just said something harsh
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny if you look at, especially with on-air talent, what we do when we coach on-air talent, when they come in, especially if they're new, is to say, you got to understand something. You're going to be on all the time. All right. So this is the path that you choose. When you go to the supermarket, we have Publix down. You go into Publix, someone's going to come up to you and talk to you. They may criticize you. They may say your dress looked awful the other night. They may say this, but keep in mind, subconsciously, you're going into their living room every single day. They think they know you. You know, you have an intimate relationship one way. It doesn't go both ways. So you got to be aware of that when they're talking to you, when they do give you criticism, and you need to be able to handle that going into that. Because, and as a second off, when you shake their hand, 9 times out of 10, you got a viewer for life. But it's an intimate relationship one way. But you shake that hand, and that person's going to be on cloud 9 for and the amount of words and the amount of referrals you're going to get, and the amount of support you're going to get from them I've never seen it not work.
It's a really intelligent thing to do. Do you ever do something in your career where you kind of came up with an idea, Jeff, or a concept or a reapplication of something in business where you really kind of nailed it? It just worked and you had it right. I mean, did you remember any one specific thing? Maybe it's several, but do you remember something like that? Where you kind of thought something up like, hey, this might work, and it really did work?
I do, and this is kind of small, and actually this was something, a negative turned into a positive. Really not that big, but one example is at our station we have a microwave tower that sends a signal to our transmitter tower. So what happened was during mating season for birds and so forth, there's certain birds that if they build a nest during mating season, you cannot disturb that nest. Well, we had what we call bird abatement strips. These bird abatement strips are little plastic strips with points to discourage any bird from building a nest. Well, over time, and they're plastic, they can't be metal or anything. They got to, they can't hurt the bird. Just deterrents on. So over time, with the sun, it'll make them brittle, and the birds will stomp them out. Well, my chief engineer came to me one day and said, "Hey, there's a bird circling, and the strips need to be replaced. I'm like, well, get the tower crew out there as quick as possible." Well, it's not like you can get a tower crew over there in one day unless they live close by. So within a week, they had a nest, and we could not build anything. We could not do any kind of tower work whatsoever. So, of course, I'm saying to myself some very not politically correct words as it relates to cursing and so forth in my head. I'm darn. So I said, all right. I went back to our control room. I said, turn the tower cam on the bird, because we weren't using the tower cam as much as we do now. And then I went back to sales, talked to my general sales manager, and I said, I told him, I said, here's what we're going to do. We just put this bird on there, sell it. People love animals. So actually, to their credit, sold it. And not only did sell it, we did hits through during mating season, through all our newscasts. And it became so popular that I've got a client that's had it for years that won't give it up. And so during the time, roughly from January, February through June, we have a client that sponsors it, Mr. Sparky, and the audience just goes crazy. So if something happens, or sometimes Mother Nature birds die, or they thrive and fly away. But either way, I had one person a few years ago, one of the birds got hung up and unfortunately passed away, and the audience was calling in, "I'm coming over there. I'm going to climb the tower. You don't need to do anything. I'll climb the tower." Whoa, whoa, whoa! You can't do that. Yeah. There's liability and issues. This is Mother Nature, and this is survival of the fittest. This is how this is. I'm sorry, I can't have you do that. But that would probably be one of them. And again, it's not a grand scale aha moment, but just something that turned lemons into lemonade.
It's a fun story. That you could almost argue, Jeff, that the bird came up with the idea, and you borrowed the idea. Because the bird off.
Yeah, I need to get more fish for the bird. Pay the bird. Yeah.
How about something you thought was a great idea and you rolled with it and it kind of didn't go where you thought it could have gone, but maybe you learned from that or you adjusted, pivoted off of it. Do you ever have one of those things happen in business?
Go probably about maybe once a month. Yeah. Try. Yeah. Whether it's a segment, there's been a number of times where we try to segment that, or back in the early days of digital, oh, everybody's going to love this and they're going to come to it. And really what we've learned, fail cheap. I'm sure everybody's heard this. If you're going to fail cheap, but encourage risk taking. So whether it's products and Adam, we talk about clients and we talk about swim lanes and special products. Some products work better than the other, thinking everybody's going to gravitate to the product. So I encourage risk taking, but calculated risks. So on the sales side, absolute risk taking. But what I've learned on the sales side that I make clear to any new salesperson coming in the organization is I'm adamant about making sure we have a whole portfolio of products for any different client, and we will not sell a product to a client that's not right for them. So just to get the sale, what we're going to do is make sure that it's going to be product's going to work for that client. So a product for that works for client A may not work so well for client B, and it may be some of the products that we have may be best to turn over to competitor. In which that case, fine doing that with, but what's in the best interest of the client going forward. So what I've learned is, one, making sure that always keep the best interest of the client or our audience, because our mission is to provide news, information, entertainment, and services to enable our communities to prosper. Stick to the mission. And to when it comes to decision making, as much as we can tie to data as possible. That's kind of a big one. So is there any data backing it up versus gut? A lot of the mistakes that I've made, it's a gut decision. Well, if I had to program the TV station to what I like to watch, we'd be out of business tomorrow.
If you had a word to describe, you look back, I mean, not that your career is done, you're thriving in it. You're in the best chapter of it, in my opinion. What's a word that you would describe to describe your career? What word would you pick?
Flexible. When I say flexible not in just what the actions that we take throughout the day to day, but also being flexible to recognize those opportunities in front of us and seize those opportunities. An example would be, there's been a number of times as I came up through this organization that I knew I wasn't qualified for these positions or getting even chance to really get to apply, but knowing that the fact that I was on the inside, there's a higher chance of me getting an interview, qualified or not, than if I came from outside the organization. So with that being flexible to recognize those opportunities and seize those opportunities. My background is finance. I'm a CPA, and in this role, these days, you come from news or sales typically. So very rarely will someone from finance come to a really more sales-oriented, driven role. So I'd probably say flexible.
Kind of sounds like you're saying, have a firm mission in your career, but flexible in how you get there. Is that surmise what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say that.
Just in the final question, it really is, I try to get a lot of young people to listen to guys like you and women that have done my podcast is try to take yourself down there. You're a college graduate. You just got your shiny new degree. You're about to hit the industry. Pick the industry. All right. You're about to hit the industry. Mm-hmm. And you got your degree under your arm, and here we go. And what would be the first thing you'd say to that recent student or somebody just trying to get into your trade? What would you say?
A couple of things is most folks, hopefully are ambitious, seize the opportunity in front of them, and be respectful. Be respectful along that path. You don't need to be a jerk going along the way. Be respectful. You can get there without having to, step on someone else. There's many times in our career, be kind, and when I say be kind, and kind does not mean weakness. And I've had these conversations before when I've had to make those tough decisions and, try to build people up and they just don't work and have to let them go. But be respectful coming in, be respectful going out. So young, screaming, you're never going to get anybody to follow you or lead you. I don't want people to follow me or do what I say because they have to or because they're fearful of it. I want them to follow me or because they don't want to let me down, out of respect.
I want to end kind of how we started. You brought up the word empowering. And I don't know if that's common in business like it used to be, where your boss actually does trust you to go think for yourself. I think there's a lot more hand holding going on than there used to be, or tight guardrails. Your job is X. Don't vary from that. What gives you the confidence, Jeff? Because you're a little bit of an outlier there to even feel like that's going to happen and people aren't going to take advantage of being empowered. You're giving people leeway. You're giving them leash. Why do you feel confident enough that people are going to follow that and do that properly?
Well, first of all, we're not surgeons and we're not doing brain surgery. No one's going to die if we get the segment wrong. No one's going to, no one is going to die if we sell something and we lost money on it. That's how you learn. By learning, being able to take those risks and like I said, calculate risks. It's, for example, with journalists, young journalists, with producers. Yeah. I remind them we have an awesome responsibility with one word. And I go back to our mission to enable our communities to prosper. We can build up a community and really make a difference. Also, with that one word, we can tear down a person, a business, a community with that one word, even if we take it down. Now, it's not like it was 30 years ago, with everything being out there permanently. With that being said, so those are some guardrails, just reminding them of that. But also the fact is, be creative, try something different, try something that's never been done before. Just be aware of that risk and the calculated risk. So, but there's very few areas where the risk is so egregious that it's going to be that detrimental to the organization.
I think these are great words, Jeff. I think if someone's listening to this right now and you're starting out in your career, or if you're mid-career or even last chapter in your career, I think this is all great advice and good insight. I think you're a very interesting professional. You are professional. You are kind. You're energetic. You drive the pulse of that company. I've seen you do it. And frankly, I want to thank you for being on the podcast, Jeff.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
And stay tuned next episode coming up in about a week. Thanks for being on A-List Podcast with Adam Armbruster.